So, hi.
Hey everyone.
I
Oh, welcome everyone, and welcome Emily, and welcome Jason. I'm so joyful and happy. Like, I'm so happy and joyful, and to have you here. I feel so much love in my heart, and so thank you so much for joining with me today in this new episode that we're doing on uh, on on the podcast Only Love Remains. And we started the last two episodes with Jason, who has been sharing his experience throughout this whole year. And I prayed in my heart, and I knew that the whole parable wouldn't be complete without having Emily's perspective on it all. And so, yeah, welcome, Emily. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
oh, thank you, Marina. Yeah, feels beautiful to be here.
Yes, and yeah, when I was in prayer, meditation, and also while I was joining with Jason, I had in my heart, like, I would love to know how this whole year unfolded for you. What were your main insights? What did you learn from this? I feel like everything, because I know that you have so much devotion in your heart. When I see you, I see and feel this deep devotion, and I see and feel love and kindness, and you're such an inspiration to me. So when I think about this whole situation, I was like, I would love to see what happened in your mind and your heart through it all, and how did you, yeah, how having the purpose of forgiveness out front, how can you move throughout this situation with that purpose, and how was it for you?
Yeah, wow. I don't know where to start. Yeah, I think it was probably about 8 months ago that everything kind of shifted. I was actually in Mexico at the time when Jason got his colonoscopy and the diagnosis came in, and I was due to fly to Ireland a few days later because I had an interview to get my B2 visa. And it was literally like overnight, everything changed. Like from the day the diagnosis came in, I was in Utah by the next evening. So it was like everything just shifted really quickly. And I think the main thing that stands out in my mind from the beginning of this journey over the last 8 months was it was like the future completely dissolved in my mind. I think that's what happened for both of us. It was like, this diagnosis came in for Jason, and between when that happened and when we actually met with the doctors and the oncologist and everything, I think there was about a 3 week period. So we didn't really know what the treatment was, what the next steps were. And it was like this period of facing this thought of like, we didn't know or if it was terminal, if it was like something like Jason's mission was complete. And it's funny, like what I remember from that is my heart just opened up so much with this feeling. Like with this feeling of love and gratitude. It was like when you don't know if there's a future anymore. It's like something happens in the mind. Like, well, that's what happened for me anyway. Like something happened in my mind where it was like just full gratitude for the moment, like it like pulled me into the present moment. And like I just remember thinking the thought like, wow, why would I ever hold a grievance in my mind? Like if this is all there is, if now is all there is, and I have no idea what tomorrow holds, or yeah, like if Jason's going to be here much longer, it was like I grievances just seemed so ridiculous to me. It was like, what a waste of time. I want to use every moment just to love. Like that was all that was important. And it wasn't like this thing in my mind where I had to work at it or try and forgive. It was like such this like really, really clear thing. It was like love is all that's important. And when you don't have like when you're not spread on the timeline anymore, it's like grievances don't make any sense. And then I guess now looking back, I can see, wow, grievances and time go hand in hand. When time dissolves, so do grievances. It's impossible without time that there could be grievances. So I think I had like a glimpse of that. And then, as the months have gone on, like I feel like there's been so many lessons and like so much deepening. But that initial like very powerful experience I feel like I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, like when you're no longer faced, because after we moved forward and the treatment started, I think something started to relax in my mind, that it really felt like it wasn't complete for Jason, that his mission wasn't finished. And then even that contrast experience, then to see how the complacency can come back into the mind, and it's like grievances hold value again, or unforgiveness holds value again. Like that very strong experience I had initially, it was like it started to like kind of dilute a little bit, but I feel like that is my focus now. It's like, okay, maybe it's not some shock in the moment that pushes my mind into it, but like that's the daily work. It's like to continue to forgive and to continue to come back to what's important. So I feel that even the contrast was valuable for that. It's like I can see what else can be chosen, and maybe I'm not quite as quick, all the time to say, okay, I don't want this, but it's like ultimately that is my prayer, to have that as a consistent experience and to not let the mind fall back into complacency. So that was one thing that was very powerful at the beginning anyway.
Yes, and I'm sure you also got like these opportunities to choose love throughout it all without even having, because one can think about grievances about I am holding this against, like something happens between us and I get upset. But even, for example, with in your relationship with Jason, I know maybe you want to share more context of it, but when this diagnosis came, all other projects and functions I used to have, they they dissolved or dropped away, and then your main focus was to move through, like I guess you can say it on your words, but like be with Jason throughout this process. But then like grievances can take other forms. Like, for example, if you go to the doctor and you start feeling responsible or want anything other than love, then you lose the feeling of love. I don't know if you want to share how that process was for you with Jason throughout all of those months.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like that. Like I kind of came from Mexico to the US, and it did feel like everything that I had in my mind or old projects kind of fell away. And then it was entering into this collaboration with Jason, first of all, just kind of going to the appointments and stuff. And then, yeah, just like supporting in any way that the spirit would have me support. And, when we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast, you were asking me, like, do you feel like some like the love deepened or the intimacy deepened? And I think, yeah, just that was a really beautiful question, because what came to mind was that like the intimacy comes from being with the spirit. And I can say over this period, like I can feel like something has deepened, and even seemingly with Jason, like this, the heart has opened more, and something has even, I don't know, like there's more of a harmony even in the relationship, but it's not really between Jason and I. It's not about like in an interpersonal way, there's a deeper love. It's more like this whole backdrop was given to find the spirit through all of it. And through that, the love just comes in more and more. And like the temptation is to, or what can easily happen is to fall into, oh, the function is about supporting Jason, or look like caring for the body, or trying to heal the body. And my mind went back and forth over these months. Like sometimes it would get locked into that. It would, we'd go to the doctor's appointments, and they would give us so much information. And then there was, medications, and then what to do, what not to do. And if my mind started to tighten up and just try and get it right in the form, like, what were the rules? What do you do and what don't you do? It's like the love wouldn't be there, or it would feel like there would be a disconnect. But it was nearly like, the spirit was saying, stay with me through all of it. It was like, yeah, I'm bringing in all of these mighty companions. I don't know if the doctors would call themselves, but that's how I saw them. They were all of these angels that were sent in, and they all had a part. But then what was actually the guidance? Like when was it to use the medication? When was it to just join and talk through things, or to give space, or I don't know, just whatever it was in the moment. And it was like, that was the thread through the whole thing, finding the spirit over and over and over, and then getting lost. And it's like, oh, I can feel the contrast, like the personal responsibility would come in, and I'd started to get frustrated, and it would be like a doing. And then, magically the spirit would like bring in some little other project for me. There was something else, like another collaboration in the community, and kind of like little short things here and there, or a phone call or something, and I would stabilize again, and I would come back to my clarity, and then I could come back fresh. It's like I was hearing that line in my mind, love and do what you will. Like my function actually was to love, like I want to say to love Jason, it was to love, but in a way that I could understand it. I was given, this, like the symbol to be able to just give to, like open my heart and just let the spirit come through. So I think that's where there was that sense of intimacy and that sense of deepening, where it was like remembering what it was truly for, like not getting lost in, it was about trying to heal a body, or like, overcome a feeling of like fear of loss or whatever. It was like, no, what does the spirit want to come through me in the moment? And that would be what would be most uplifting, and that would be the most loving thing. And I didn't always know what that was. So it was like finding that over and over and over.
Beautiful. And also when you were just sharing how you saw like all of the doctors and nurses as angels, scene came to mind that you both share about it in different ways. When you, Jason, you also said that you needed to be so focused and so in the present moment when you went to for the chemo, and your experience through it all, and then also how that experience was for you, Emily, because when we were talking just before, you also shared how you saw like how everyone, like there was so much love all over, like everyone was giving so much love and care, and that was an opportunity to allow all of that love up for everyone involved.
Yeah, like I loved going to chemo. They were great days, because like I don't know if you shared before when you were talking with Marina, but that initial, I think you did, about the initial session of chemo, and then you actually kind of felt quite nauseous and everything, and then you saw like you had to go within. But I just felt when we went to chemo, well, first of all, everyone was so beautiful, the nurses were so loving, so caring, but it was like Jason was going to be loved for 3 hours. Like even the drugs going into his body, I just felt like love was being pumped into his body, like a brother. Yeah. I don't know that that's how you felt, but it felt so nurturing and so caring. Like, I don't know, it always had a real open heart during those days. And, but I think a big part of it was I just saw it was like that time was permission for Jason to let go of the whole world. Like he would go, and from that morning, even before we would get there, he would just go into this very quiet, meditative space. And he would go and he would just meditate, or he would listen to something, just relax. And it was like he was going so inward. And it just felt, I think that was probably what felt so nurturing. It wasn't maybe necessarily the drugs going in, but I couldn't separate it all. So I don't know. I just, when I think of that, all I think of is like how loving it was. And maybe in a worldly perspective, it would seem like, oh, that, how could, that would be a traumatic experience or not comfortable or whatever. But I guess it wasn't me personally going through it, but the feeling was there's just so much love underneath. And with everything, like, that was very pronounced in my mind. But all of the appointments we went to visit the doctors, it was like, it wasn't about meeting a doctor in a role, like it wasn't about a patient and a doctor or whatever. It was like there were these amazing opportunities for prayer and for holy encounters, and to see what the spirit was guiding as the next step. And like without exception, they were all so beautiful. And I don't know, it's like this amazing team. It felt like this amazing team of angels. So when we would go to do all of these scans or doctors or whatever, it was always this very, very loving experience, very relaxing.
Mhm. Beautiful. Yes, and like, and like I can see also how everything like was given, like the doctors were like which one to choose, and it was so obvious, like the one that has a photo. And then the doctors were given, the angels were given, but then I also you shared a little bit too about how all of it was being given to Jason, and all the love behind it, and how you received a gift by being part of it and witnessing it all. And would you like to share some more of that? Because I feel like I have the idea in my mind, but I don't want to. I want to listen from you.
Well, that's like one thing, not just through this phase, but like being with Jason, I always feel like things are very obvious and dramatic. Like for example, Jason might like have a prayer and he would just verbalize it, and we'd be in the middle of like watching a movie or just about to start a movie, and he'd press play, and the exact prayer that he had, the scene would play out in the movie. Or we would go out, and yeah, it would be like he would just have brought something up, and then something would play out that you couldn't deny. That was a very, very clear answer. And like in my own like experience, for me, I don't see it happening as dramatically, but I don't think I can separate it from witnessing it in Jason. Like I'm not apart from that. But it was a similar feeling with this whole process um with the doctors, and yeah, and like all of the treatment and everything, that like without a shadow of a doubt, I could see that Jesus was behind absolutely everything. And it was such like a faith builder for me, like just like witnessing what I've witnessed over the last 8 months. I can never again say that Jesus doesn't have our best interests at heart, or that there's anything we personally need to figure out. Like if we just, and I feel like that's what Jason demonstrated, like all of this time, the focus was on prayer. The focus was always on prayer. And then everything that happened was the answer to that prayer. So it was like starting back in his mind with Jesus, and then seeing what was brought forth. But like right from the beginning, because I'm sure you've already shared, but when the diagnosis first came in, and then the idea was like chemotherapy, and that was something that, well, any treatment at all was not something Jason was very inspired by. It wasn't this feeling like, oh my gosh, how do I save this body, or how do I prolong this life? That wasn't where his mind was at. It was, if anything, it was more like, oh, I don't know that I can go through chemotherapy or like this long process or whatever. So with that being the starting point, Jesus had to bring everything so obviously, and he did. Like from my perspective in all of these months, there was no efforting from Jason at all. Like, where, like I said, every doctor was amazing, beautiful angel, like, and so skilled in their profession, like the top of the top, where the chemotherapy would be like 5 minutes from where we're living. When he would need an appointment, it would just open up immediately. All of the support from the community where we are with like the LDS church, meals were brought, blessings were given, even within the community. I could just feel so much love for Jason and everyone. I don't know, like if anything, it just showed how much he's loved. But it's Jesus's love underneath it all. And like down to the smallest little things, like I can't even remember it all now, but the feeling of it was that it was all just so effortlessly given, and all Jason had to do was just step into the next obvious thing and the next obvious thing. And like you were sharing before with Marina, I think in the previous one of the previous podcasts, like it was your focus was not on healing the body. It was like it was healing the mind and healing the thoughts. And when you put your focus there, Jesus will take care of everything. If the body's to be healed, the body will be healed. It will be shown. But I think for me that was the learning throughout as well, like not getting too caught up on the body, but it was like, okay, remember that's a backdrop. That's not what this is really for. We're not healing the body. It might look like that on the surface level, but it's a much, much deeper healing that's happening. So yeah, just witnessing all of the miracles I did, like I've never seen it play out in such a clear, obvious way. Like I can never again say that, wow, Jesus is not behind everything. And if it's true for Jason, it must be true for all of us in every situation. It must be true for me. It must be true for you. And it's like, I'm just so grateful to have witnessed that and have that experience, so I can move forward with that deep in faith in my own mind.
Yeah, all the miracles.
Her parents even said, a couple of years ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
They said, well, you're giving yourself over to God or the community or whatever, and you're not, making a salary. What's going to happen if you get sick? You don't have health insurance. No.
Their biggest fear. I don't have health insurance.
You don't have health. Yeah. She had to opt out of it, leaving Ireland, and so when this all happened and everything was just like giving without any thought, it was almost like you want to call them up and say, well, this is what happens if you give your life over to God. It just gets taken care of,
Yeah. God is my health insurance. Yeah. Like that is the only foolproof health insurance. Like that's like true health. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I'm like still blown away by how it was all orchestrated. It's like, wow, if we ever really need anything, Jesus is there. He's got our back.
That's very yeah, agreed. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. For those listening, the cat just came through the screen. Yeah, that's beautiful when you said, yeah, Jesus is our health insurance, because in this case, Jason got given a health insurance, and that is because he needed it. And therefore, that's why it was there. And that allowed for Jason to not have his mind on, for example, bills. And yeah, so that he can focus on what really was important.
I was part of it too.
Like many late night meditations, she said, I was there.
Yes, but it's just so beautiful because it's just having the mind just completely open. It's not the form, like, oh, so that form worked for you and therefore I need that form. It's not the form that we need. It's like Jesus is connecting with the guidance of the Spirit, and he gives us what we need for the situation we're facing to heal what he knows that needs healing. We don't know really what needs healing, but he's orchestrating everything so that a true healing can take place.
Yeah.
See. And then I was also just wondering, how was the experience for you when Jason was in the hospital and he was gonna have that surgery that didn't end up happening? How was your perspective on it all?
Well, even that Jason went in for the surgery, like I'm sure you've already shared this, but that's even part of like seeing this divine providence with everything that happened because like Jason was going towards the surgery and in his mind like it was 90 because there was a lot of healing that needed to happen to actually accept the surgery and to really feel like it was Jesus's plan. And it's like he was 99% there. And then, but there was still something in the mind that maybe wasn't fully in alignment with the direction. And look what Jesus did with that. It was like he rearranged time and space, he rearranged everything, and you had a beautiful mystical experience out of it and everything. And then gave him another 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, that final part of his mind that needed to line up with, yeah, this is truly the plan and Jesus is behind it. Like he was ready and then could fully embrace the healing for the whole surgery that was going to come. So I think that was the first thing that I just thought that, wow, how loving, like this, like so, so beautiful. But yeah, I think maybe what you're referring to is when he had the issue with his heart and they kind of had to like electrocute him in the emergency room. and and it was interesting because when the doctor was explaining, he's like, okay, so this is what's going to happen, and he's gonna like electrocute him, and he's gonna jump up once or maybe multiple times and look like he's in a lot of pain, and then he's going back down. And then Jason said to the doctor, are you sure you want her here for this? And he's like, whatever you do, don't put your hands on the bed when it happens or you'll get electrocuted too. So anyway, they put him to sleep and it was very much like what the doctor said. They kind of electrocuted him and it was like he jumped up out of the bed and his face looked like oh, like he was in like so much pain. And then he just like lay back down in the bed. And I was like, a little shocking. And so I just asked the doctor, I was like, did he feel that? Like, was he in pain? And he said, oh, don't worry, he won't remember anything. I was like, what do you mean? Like he was in pain and he just won't remember, or he didn't feel anything? And he's like, he couldn't answer the question. But I feel like Jesus answered the question in a much deeper way for me, because when Jason woke up for many hours afterwards, he was just in this beautiful, blissful state. And he was just sharing his experience, which I'm sure you've already talked about, so I don't need to go into the specifics of it, but it just felt so mystical and so beautiful and expansive. And I could clearly see like what I had witnessed in like this, like corpse, like the body, it was like a corpse. What I had witnessed in that, Jason was not there. It was like his experience like was an experience of mind, and there's no meeting point between what he experienced and what I perceived in the body. So it was like that was very powerful, like they weren't the same thing. And so it's like really the question was who was it that experienced pain? And I guess it was me. Like I perceived him in pain, and then whatever that brought up for me, I was the one in discomfort, but through my perception, not through something that was really happening. So that was a very powerful experience to see, wow, there was no meeting point between his experience and my experience. Like they were in completely different realms. And it was like, when I asked the doctor, he couldn't answer me in that way, but Jesus could in a very experiential way.
That's very powerful. Like it's all about the perception, like yeah, how we are perceiving, through which lenses are we perceiving, through with the Holy Spirit or with the ego. And if it's with the ego, then that's what we experience. And if we're aligned with the Spirit, then that is what we experience. We experience the love. And it's yeah, when you were sharing that experience, you're both sharing that experience. I said it before, like what the image that came was Jesus on the cross. And the teaching of Jesus in the cross is choose only love, for that is what you are. And when he was in the cross, like, of course, he was identified with love. So he was just experiencing love. But it was that was his perspective of everything. But the ones that seemingly were witnessing from outside, and there were people that said, "Oh, Jesus was in the cross and he experienced pain," and it's like, who, like what you said, Emily, who is the one that experienced pain? It's like believing in the ego is what causes the pain, and then if we release the belief in the ego, then only we can experience is love. But yeah, like you said, that there is no meeting point, is one or the other. And what a powerful experience to show you that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Wow. So many yeah, deep experiences and insights and lessons, like very powerful lessons. Mm. Is there anything else that comes to either of your mind that you have in your heart that you would like to share about this? Or does it feel like, oh yeah, no, that was the main thing, and or anything?
Like I keep hearing the word devotion, like it was a devotion to go through this whole thing, but it was a devotion for Emily to be called into support and to accept that assignment. And yeah, it was really beautiful for me because not only with like the LDS community and our community just being so loving, it really made it obvious for me to go through it all, but maybe less recognized on a day-to-day basis because theirs seemed like whoa, whoa, whoa. But like how much care Emily put into just the day-to-day things, like the body would, because of the chemicals, they would seemingly make you like you couldn't swallow anything except room temperature water or food. I mean, you could swallow it, but it'd be extremely ah, and so everything had to be room temperature. Like that's just a lot of mind energy goes into these things, and to do that with such care and love, it's a special mission to feel that and to do it out of gratitude. And so I'm grateful for that. And then maybe the other thing that stands out is because we were talking about it yesterday with this time thing, like in the beginning when we didn't know what was happening. We talked about it like as soon as time comes in and you think you have a future, then like Emily said, the grievances can take hold. And I don't know what we say. We had some kind of a comment like you cannot separate time from grievances, and maybe
They're
you
the
already
same
said
thing.
it's the same. Time
Like,
is the grievance.
yeah.
Yeah,
One cannot exist without the other. It's like they are literally the same. It's like I never saw that before. That's
yeah.
insane.
Because in the present moment, you may still see the thought arise, but the temptation to bite or believe in it is very, very, very low or non-existent because you don't have time. You just want to embrace the moment and be in the love. And as soon as you think of, oh, I'm with this person and we have a future, or we can do this, or that is like the gateway. They talk about gateway drugs. That's our gateway drug into all sorts of other problems. And we don't know how we end up getting down to those other problems. But it's because we believe we have time, that we're a body in time, and we can do what we want. We did what we wanted in the past and we made good or bad decisions. We can do what we want now. So we have a good future. And it's such a trick. It's such a trick. And then we were saying like Frances retired early, so to speak, and she always wanted to travel the world when she was younger, like 20s and 30s. and she was saving up to be able to travel the world
When she retired.
when she retired. And then she gave all that up, decided to go for God and her mission, and then traveled around the world with David and the community and
Did everything that was in her heart.
did everything that was in her heart through the purpose of extending. And then, I don't know, she was 40 to
Like
45 or
47,
seven
yeah.
or what, and then seemingly passes away. And you just look at that and you're like, could you imagine if she had waited it would never
Yeah.
have made it. You know what I mean? Because the brain tumors and stuff. But
Like pushing your inspiration off to the future. It's actually saying no to the inspiration.
yeah,
It's like a trick. It's like I'll enjoy it in the future, but actually it's saying no to it. So
yeah.
yeah, I had that thought. It's like, wow, imagine if she had waited. Imagine if she hadn't followed her heart. Yeah.
Francis is, for those of you who knew, a friend of ours in the community who been with us 15, 20 years and recently passed away. So, but she had a lot of miracles in her journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really showing, like, yeah, now is the opportunity to choose love now, choosing the inspiration now, and choose to use everything to open up the heart to give and receive love. And I feel like that's what you were also sharing, Jason, when you were sharing about, oh, what if I have to drive by my own? And it's like, why would I want to do that if there is someone like that can come with me and support, and it's like an opportunity for that holy encounter, for giving and receiving love, and realizing that that is the backdrop for the love to come through, for God to take care of us. Yeah, it's not separate. Like the whole setup like was there to show you, like for God to show you, like, I love you, I love to all of the involved, because like giving and receiving are the same. So no matter what role the Spirit put you in, it was always a gift to give and receive the love, and to open up the heart and release anything that's not love in the moment. Like there is no time to hold on to anything that's not connection or not the love, like that's present. So wow, like what a powerful demonstration. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for joining with me today. I feel so blessed by both your presence, for all your devotion, for all your love, for all your inspiration, for you taking every step that is given you, and for learning all the lessons and sharing them with me and with everyone who's listening. It's truly, truly a blessing. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Marina. It's like I'm grateful just even to do this with you, because it deepens it for me. It's like it reminds me of all the miracles, and just even being able to share them, it's like, wow, it's kind of fantastic.
I know, I was thinking I chose this particular form and it worked. I couldn't say that at the beginning like you would consciously, but it's like you started out all the podcast with make this year different by making it all the same. It's like I want to take this, whatever that was, to everything, to the present moment. Like my prayer I remember making today, just continue to make everything obvious from this moment out, as obvious as this was, because I do not want to lead. I don't want to go and choose anything. If this leads to such success in mind training and healing, then please go ahead of me, make the path clear, and let me follow. I'm yours, So yeah.
Beautiful. As we enter this year, we can keep that in mind. Make this year different by making it all the same, by putting the purpose out front through it all, and have Him lead, and we will follow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much.